who couldn't make it with us. We're now recording for approximately 25 minutes, I suspect. This afternoon it would be great for us to talk about research methods, unless anybody is sitting on a very burning question they would like to ask before we get into research methods and methodology. So anyone sitting on any burning question that would be great for us all? Mary?
No, I'm happy to go straight into methodology.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll do a bit of a recap of where we got to this morning for those who weren't here. What we tried to do this morning was look at what research methodology was and how it contains research methods, and how in our report it has to justify the methods that you're going to use. And all the way through, I was at pains to try and point out, sorry about the music off, it's in the chapel next door. I was at pains to try and point out that where we can, let's see if we can get some methods that don't involve having to do a ethics application, because that would be a complication, and especially as we got a small amount of time, it would be nice if we didn't have to go through the ethics hoop. Now, I think, was there anything else on the big picture from this morning that we were looking at? Basically, the notes we were using were from part 1 on the Moodle page, and looking at methodology chapter 3 and 4, I think. And we ended up talking about types of interview questions, how to sit somebody in an interview, and such related matters. But I would love to hand over to Steve now briefly. Could you give me your take on the relationship between research methodology and research methods? Because it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing your question because I've got noise in the background. I heard I'd like you to hand over to Stephen, and I heard something about research, but I haven't caught it. Sorry, okay. Jim.
I'll try and repeat the question. We can hear you very well.
Okay.
How would you describe the difference between the phrase research methodology and research methods?
Methodology to me is a general framework, whereas methods are the specific means that you use in your own research study.
That's good. Love it. Thank you.
I hope that's not too brief.
No, that was so good. Precisely shot. Team Stephen. Legend. Oh, sorry.
You're welcome. I'm sure you'll cover that. So, now, are any of you online folk, are you ready for, are you up to the stage where you are formulating what methodology, methods you might be going for? That means Mary.
I'm still grappling with my topic and getting that signed off. But depending if that is approved or not, then I do have ideas how I will gather that quantitative and qualitative data. But I need to get stage 1 ticked off first, Jim. So I don't know.
Give us a précis of your topic idea so far.
So far, in my prac, I'm teaching a geography unit, and there's not very much ICT used in the unit at all. So I'm feeling very limited in terms of the way that I'm being facilitated in teaching that unit. It's very dry, it's very explicit, it's very direct, it's not student-orientated at all.
And what grade are you talking about, Mary? What grade 8, okay.
Grade 8, yeah. So it's all around sustainable communities, and we're looking at megacities. So there's a lot that I can do with that as a teacher, but it's just really dry. So I want to look, and I understand that the research needs to be about my teaching and not me rewriting the unit. But So based on my teaching skill, I want to look how I can improve my ICT capability within the classroom. So I want to be able to research what types of ICT tools are available, what digital media is available for me to introduce into the classroom, how I can better learn how to use that, and then from there bring it into the classroom, write a task around that, get the students to complete the task that I'd write for them, and and obviously teach them, so model how to use that ICT, which is, I suppose, my own research on my own ability, and then see if there's any outcome or differentiation in terms of their enjoyment or, I suppose, their attention to it and how they do in the unit in comparison to before I introduced any ICT. So I don't know if that...
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, when you talk about ICT, I'm not quite sure what you are implying by the term. Do you mean some ICT that is already set up to be interactive, that's designed to draw a response from students, or are you talking about some sort of ICT which is stimulus material that you would then develop questions or some way of eliciting the response? Like how fully formed are you looking for the ICT to be?
Okay, so I'm talking about ICT, I think, in the latter of your description. So digital tools that are already available in existence that the students have not come across, particularly within a GIS format. So being able to research the megacities from a GIS perspective, and for them having to do mini research within that GIS platform and adding different layers, working their way around that. And I understand it's a technology-based program that I'm trying to improve my own skill set of. I don't feel confident in that area at all, and I need to get better at it. So that's why I feel this action research would be really good for me as a teacher to be able to spend time improving my own skill set. But I don't know if that's...
Okay, can I ask you a question or two, Mary? And also get you folks here to consider, it would be great if you were to share a synopsis of where you're at with your idea/research question, and then get all of us to brainstorm with you on where you felt that was at, how appropriate it was, where the methodology might go to meet that aim. But my question for you, Mary, I love the fact that you're talking about your lack of confidence in using ICT. Can you enlarge a bit more on what you mean by that? It's one thing to say you're not very confident in the use of ICT, but can you put a few more descriptors around that, what it is that you're not confident about and why you think you might not be so confident?
Okay, you want me to do that now?
Please, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So one, I don't understand necessarily what software is out there and could be used for this unit to improve the delivery of it from an ICT GIS perspective. So that's my one confidence in terms of knowledge availability.
Yeah.
Two, I actually don't know how to use the software. So I would need to understand what it is. I would need to be able to use it, to be able to teach it and introduce it. And three, I don't have the confidence to make a choice on what is good yet for students on that unit or not. I don't feel that I have any professional ability to make that decision yet, which is why I want the literature review to focus on what ICT is useful in that scenario. So that's sort of where I'm coming from, a confidence perspective.
May I bounce back?
One of the things you're going to need to be really careful about as you do that is remembering the age of the students that you're dealing with. A lot of GIS material is very complex, like university level. It's even challenging for senior students in years 11 and 12. Now, you're talking grade 8 students who are still coming to grips with some of the basic concepts and methodology of geography. And I just encourage you, when you're doing the literature review, be really aware of the age of students you're dealing with, because the danger will be going into it so deeply that you're pitching it at a level which will be helpful for you to understand the nature of GIS, but which will be really a tangent as far as your ability to use that for the action research purpose with this grade A class that you're talking about. You know, for kids of that age, you know, if you're talking about, you know, ICT material, you know, it could be something like satellite maps on Google. It could be videos from the Guardian website, because they've got a lot of really good stuff on sustainability and urban work and so on. They've actually got a whole section on that. And can I say, given the age of the students, that's not a bad place to start. I don't mean stopping at the videos, but they then in turn have links to quite a lot of the source material that they base that on. And because it's designed for the general public, it won't get excessively technical, which is, I think, the danger of applying things to a classroom situation.
Okay.
Just a warning, that's all.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
I've got a little comment, and I'll throw it open to others. But to me, it looks to me as if you're lacking in knowledge, Mary, and you're lacking in skill. And those two items produce the third thing, you're lacking confidence. So I think the confidence will take care of itself when you've got the knowledge and the skill up. Don't you? Yeah. Anyone else like to comment on or question Mary?
I did a geography teaching placement for my prac, even though I'm a history and music teacher. And I thought that a really good tool to use was Kahoot for the geography classroom. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have. I've never used it, but I've heard of it, yeah.
It's really worth looking into, because especially geography, there's a lot of jargon that they've never heard before. And so when they have to create their own test on the jargon, they have to understand it. And so Kahoot is just a multiple choice test that they can create. And so, for example, one of their topics was drylands. So they made a Kahoot on drylands, and the rest of the class had to do the test, and it was like a game. So Kahoot is a really good resource for geography.
Give these guys
That's
the
great.
question.
Thank you.
My question.
You know, the one that you were posed and you didn't know the answer about dryland.
Oh, one of my students said to me, Miss, why, if the drylands are drying up, how come? He's like, are they already dry? And I said, that's a really good point. And then I left it at that.
What wasn't the question?
Why are the drylands? He said, Miss, my question's why are the drylands drying up? Aren't they already dry? And I said, yes, they are. That's very true. And I said to him, I was like, we can use that for homework.
Is that a trick question?
It was the textbook's question. So Stephen, I've purchased yours over theirs.
Why are the drylands drying up?
What you're asking me?
Yes.
Very broad reasons.
The first thing to say is that wet and dry is not a binary option. Like there are degrees of wetness and there are degrees of dryness. When you say the drylands are drying up, what it means is that they are becoming more arid than they were before, and depends on the drylands as to why that would be. It could be a change of rainfall pattern, could be an increase in temperature leading to greater evaporation, transpiration. It could be because of human land use, which is causing a diversion of water, or where the demand for water is in excess of the supply. I mean, lots of reasons.
How about that in a few seconds?
I think, yeah, that's so good. It was exciting because they didn't Google it for once, but then I didn't know the answer, so they had to Google it.
And to be honest, it's often a good idea if someone asks you a question and you don't know the answer, to suggest either for homework, the class could look it up, or to reply to a question with a question. I mean, even Jesus did that. Someone asks you a question, why are the drylands drying up? There are some obvious questions. How do you know they are? Like, how reliable is your source of information? What do you mean by drylands? You know, and this is just off the top of my head, and obviously there's a lot more. The problem, of course, is that when you're in a classroom situation and a student asks you that, everything's off the top of your head. So you've got to kind of be a little bit, you know, you got to have at least have some basic information that you can bounce back the question, as opposed to just giving them an answer that they could find on Google.
Yeah. Look, we're running out of time. I want to give more opportunity to others. Who wants to shoot with their topic? Belinda or any of you guys? Belinda, we must hear from you. Where are you at?
So I'm looking at doing I've got the privilege of teaching Italian at my school this year. So I have each of the primary classes for 50 minutes a week. I've got a few issues at the school. They're looking at possibly changing the language. So I've got this year to really get the kids on board. So I'm looking at how to increase the engagement and retention levels of the students from week to week.
Oh,
That's really cool.
that's smart. And what sort of methodology are you thinking of employing?
At the moment, I've been looking at what skills they know, what words and phrases that they're already aware of, and then looking at obviously building on that, increasing that, and trying to link it in with their other classes. So if they're learning about the sea in the lower primary, that bringing in the words to do with the sea and the ocean and creatures and things like that. My son's also just started school, not at this school, but at a different school, and they also do Italian. And I found that when you walk around his school, there's like on the toilets, it has toilets written in Italian, and the library has biblioteca written and things like that. So hopefully seeing if I can include some of those things, and then asking the kids on a week-to-week basis, you know, what new words have you found around the school, and also because Italian's so close to English in a lot of ways, that trying to link in those words with the English words to help them learn and understand a bit more.
Can I ask, what age children are you teaching?
I'm teaching from prep through to year 8, but I'm going to focus on the primary classes.
On several classes or just one?
4 primary classes.
Research. Okay.
Yeah. Anyone else like to comment on Belinda's topic? Yeah? There was a bit of Italian came out here. I don't know whether you heard it.
Can I just make one observation, and that is, if you stay with that topic, your literature review, I think, is going to have to focus a lot on the wider research of what motivates students at these different ages that you're looking at. You're going to need to narrow it down in some way, and I would think the literature search could be really helpful in doing that.
So, literature on motivation and engagement, you mean?
Yeah, well, that's why I was asking about age, because there'll be research that talks about the various factors that motivate students at different ages, and I think what this study is all about is engagement and motivation.
Yes.
So to build on prior research of things that have been shown to motivate students of that age, I think would be a really helpful place to start, just as a suggestion.
Yeah. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Or do I offer a pointed question? Kristen, yours.
I'm focusing on, I haven't necessarily got my question yet, but I'm focusing on healthy student-teacher relationships and the benefit of having a positive relationship can have on the academic success of a child, specifically if they're not interested in the subject. So, yeah. I had a Year 7 boys music class and a lot of behavioural issues, and a lot of them didn't like music. And so I was like, how can I make you enjoy this class? And I found a lot of it was just by having a better relationship with them. So I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fantastic.
You guys can chime in. I have no idea what I'm doing.
No, you have. You've definitely started, and you've got an issue. It's whether or not you've sharpened it, I think, to let you run on it. But what do you think, folks? Mary?
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. It was actually one of the topics that I was considering doing. So I'm so glad that you're doing it so I can use it once you've done it. You've done all the research and I can learn. Because it's probably one of the most fundamental issues I've had on the 2 pracs that I've done is how to engage those students that just don't want to know, or they make it about the fact that they haven't connected well with the teacher, or they have issues going on at home. I mean, there's a number of different excuses that they have. But if you can just get to the crux, the foundational issue, what is it about them that is stopping them from being able to engage in that subject? And I think you're right. I think relationship, I mean, I know nothing. I'm not an expert. But I think it's just the same as being a Christian. It all starts as the relationship base. That's what Jesus was all about. So it's awesome for that Christian thread and that worldview context to thread through your research, because you can bring that in at so many angles, which is really helpful. I don't know how I do that on GIS, but I'll make a way.
Fantastic. Anyone else? Stephen, did you hear that question?
No, it cut out several times. The only question I've heard is, Stephen, did you hear that question?
Okay. So in a nutshell, Kristen?
Focusing on student-teacher relationships when there's a lack of interest in the subject, and how having a positive relationship with your student can benefit their academic success.
Ooh, that's huge.
It is, yes.
That's all I care about, really, though. That's why I want to do it.
Student-teacher relationships and how that relates to student success.
My initial reaction to that, I think, is it's a huge question, and you need to, my advice would probably be to narrow it down.
Yeah.
So that rather than looking at the general factors that can increase engagement and improve relationships, choose one strategy that you think might be, or form a hypothesis of one strategy that you think might be effective, and focus on that one strategy and work that through. I think if doing much more than that, and I think you've got too broad a topic to be meaningful and reliable and manageable.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We better be moving along. One more. Who wants? Shania. Yeah, come on, give us the music.
Okay, so
Sorry, hang on. We see that hand, Mary.
Sorry. I just had a question for Kristen. Mm-hmm. So, in light of that topic and your day's intensive that you've had today, what sort of methodology have you been brainstorming to be able to gather the data you need to be able to prove your hypothesis? Is it too early to ask?
I've really been challenged by thinking I learn a lot and respect my pastors at church. And so I view my pastors as teachers and educators. The youth pastor, how he connects to so many young people. So I'm thinking about surveying pastors and then surveying teachers and comparing the data and seeing their different communication strategies as one. Because I think that pastors are excellent communicators as well.
Yes.
And especially youth pastors will be my main focus.
Okay.
So
are we allowed to then go externally outside of the direct school that we're engaged with and interview other experts?
I don't see why not.
I think that it's a bit silly to say that teachers are the only good teachers. So it's good to go to other people who are teachers in their field.
One of the things I've been hammering, I suppose, this week is that everybody's methodology, everybody's approach is going to be unique for them. And just because you might hear somebody articulating their situation really well doesn't mean to say that you've got to do it like them. It isn't one size fits all. It's a totally unique kit bag or a resource bag for you. So if it's appropriate to go and speak with and get in contact with her mentors that she admires, why not? She's identified a teaching gift that they have, and that's what she wants to improve on herself. So I think, well, and also if it's interviewing adults, it gets away from any complications of ethics.
Mm.
So, look, in our remaining minutes, can we hear from Shania, please?
Okay, so I've been struggling to nut a question down that sort of is action research and not just research, and you'll probably hear about that more from Jim. So just before the break, Jim helped me to just form a question that I can now go on with research for, and you know, like research accurately, so I know what I'm doing. So the question that I've come up with is how to integrate music into my classroom, and then I would do that. Maybe like I would apply it to a maths class and just sort of get student feedback forms, anonymous forms, and I would talk to other teachers about how they do it, and other just people in the field and that sort of thing. It's in the very basics at the moment.
Yeah.
So
cool. We've got less than 10 minutes. Any comments? Did you hear that? So Shania wants to see if she can integrate music, because that's her passion, into her classroom on a regular basis, whether it be a music lesson or not.
Yeah, I'm interested in what the motive is for introducing the music. Is it because you're missing it when you're in the classroom teaching maths? Is it because you think it might enhance learning outcomes?
Yes.
Is it in order to relate music to mathematics? Because there actually is quite a close relationship at a conceptual level. You know, music is a mathematical expression in one sense.
Yeah.
Like I can see a whole lot of different directions that might take, and I'm not quite sure what your thinking is. And I'd be interested in, your motive in wanting to introduce the music. What would be the purpose for the student's point of view?
cool. So yeah, like I do love music, but it's not. I wouldn't look at it in the sense that I'm missing it so much in the classroom as much as it was thinking about how it benefits students. So like when I was in school, I can remember learning my times tables to a music track and things like that. So learning how to effectively teach using music, so getting concepts and content to the students in a creative way, in some way that they'll grasp it. Hopefully it'll help them learn more effectively, ideally.
Yeah.
At least some of them.
So mirroring that back, so I think I understand. So what you're wanting to do is to use music as a means of developing a better understanding of mathematical concepts.
Sure. Yeah, or to aid it. You know, it might not work for all students, but for the ones who are especially creative-minded, it might help them to grasp the concepts more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Look, I think we're going to have to wrap it there, folks. Would a similar time tomorrow be okay for you 2, 3? No, you'll be gone in an airplane, won't you, Stephen?
This time tomorrow, I will be walking some streets in Calcutta.
All right. Fair enough. You can't join us on Zoom at that time then.
Oh, hang on. Different time. Wait on. Let me work it out. It's 2.5 hours different from Singapore. You are starting at 12:30 today. So it would be 10 a.m. Calcutta time. I will... The answer is I don't know.
Okay.
If I can, I will. Part of the problem is I don't know what Wi-Fi access I will have. Singapore, you take it for granted. Calcutta, less so. I need to see what Wi-Fi I've got.
No problem. It's been wonderful to meet you all, and watch out for the news forums. We will do what we can.
Bye.
God bless.
Bye.